Jenny-Jaymes and our sidekick Christian Cano, partner in crime, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jen's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon. Good morning, everybody. It is Two Queers in a Truck time. It is actually August 23rd, if you're in this when we first dropped it into the YouTube world and the Facebook world and all the podcasts. So whether you're seeing the video version or the audio version of this, I guess you're not seeing it, you're hearing it. But anyway, it's Two Queers in a Truck time. We had Charlotte Pride last week. Obviously, we still haven't gone to Charlotte Pride because it's last week still when we're recording this.
That's right.
But it's coming up this weekend. But we're also dropping live, or not live, but our recordings of our Charlotte Pride shows from last week for Coffee and Pandolce and Two Queers in a Truck, which is our two affiliated shows. But this is Two Queers in a Truck. And how are you doing, Christian?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Happy August. What is it?
23rd. 23rd.
Wow. Already.
You're still in island time, so
I know.
You're a Florida man time.
Good to be back. Good to be back, though.
But I'm sure you're sleeping in your own bed and being back in familiar spaces is probably good for your whole family. But exactly. Good to have you back. But we'll get right into it. Old white men matter. I watched a video on Instagram, and it was one of the guys that goes around. I can't remember his name. It wasn't Jordan Klepper, but it was somebody like that. That was interviewing. He's an older gentleman, probably. I'm gonna say like maybe mid-60s, tall, with like a little white dirty Santa Claus beard, and he was out saying, if Black Lives Matter, that old white men should matter. And it brings up an interesting point that that how these old white conservatives, and he was a Trumper and all that kind of stuff, how they play the victim. That if we show any sort of compassion or concentration on women's issues or LGBT issues or Black Lives Matter or anything else, help Puerto Rico, help anything but old white men and stroke their egos, that they're being discriminated upon, or they're some kind of victim. I know, and the reporter indicated, white men in general, have 45 of the 46 presidents, and the reporter basically just said, could you cite an example where old white men are being discriminated upon, very, and of course he just said a bunch of gobbledygook and then said, because these other movements have erased old white men. I'm like, well, old white men are the ones that are trying to take away abortion, LGBT rights, and everything else. I'm like, well, maybe if you just behave yourself, maybe you'll matter more. Maybe we'll have a little bit more sympathy for you. But it was just funny because he's out there kind of protesting on a street corner in a public space. I feel like this is he's like really trying to sell this concept that, of course, he was all by himself. There was nobody else around him holding these signs and acting like he was pissed off that some business over there near where they were at had an American flag and then the LGBT rainbow flag underneath it. And he just was he was just an old white man that wanted to bitch. And he dreamed this up because it appealed to his narcissism and probably whatever narcotics he was on. And he just, because those old white guys, they're on about 15 different fucking crazy ass pills. And I think sometimes it makes them a little crazy because they're like, all I hear from them is me, I.
Yeah.
And Trump does the same thing.
Yeah.
Old white guy, always playing the victim, big government, deep state. They're always out to get me, because I'm blah, 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 and I'm saving the world. And they're coming after you through me, and I'm the one protecting them. I'm the one guarding the gate, protecting the wild pedophile rings and the whatever bullshit he comes up with that during that day when he wakes up and his brain is firing crazy land again. But all these old white guys sound the same, and if you remember, like Dirty Santa Claus from 2020, when all the MAGAs were in town and they came out and were protesting that progressive preachers movement against Trump, and then we went to, he had 7 or 8 white guys that they all looked like they'd slipped on a park bench the night before. And kind of smelled like it too. I got just close enough, and I think I was downwind. But Dirty Santa Claus, just, they were so angry. They don't make any sense because they're just babbling about stuff and yelling homophobic slurs and, all kinds of insane things. But I'm like, is this just what happens to old white conservatives? They just get to a point where everything just melts them down. Barbie movies melt them down. Bud Light, giving one trans girl one fucking commercial and their 100-year history with 6 beer cans painted with rainbow. They literally shit their collective pants, and you wonder why. And it brings me to the second topic, which is Laura Trump. Trump on, I think she was on Fox News. I think it was last night or 2 nights ago, about Hillary Clinton going on TV and laughing about the latest of the indictments of Trump down in Georgia. But she also talked about how sad it is that we have a former president that has brought shame to our country, and talking about responsibility. We talked about a lot of things. She didn't go on just TV. She doesn't do many interviews nowadays. And so, because she's pretty much retired, other than running the Clinton Foundation, it's the public, she hasn't been in the public life a long time. And, but she went on TV. One, because he spent 1.5 years saying lock her up, and then, made fun of many other women along the way, including women he's gotten sued by for defamation. But what I thought was interesting is this is the same Laura Trump when in 2020, when Gretchen Whitmer, I believe was the governor of Michigan or Wisconsin, when they went and they were literally going to kidnap her, and they threatened her and all that kind of stuff during the mask mandates, and she did the mask mandate, and of course the rednecks went nuts, even though Proud Boys are wearing masks now to hide their identity. Is Lord Trump's, he was just kidding, he was just playing around in a campaign stop, there's no big deal, because he kind of laughed about it and kind of led the chance about lock her up, and and did the normal playing to the crowd, whipping people up into a frenzy, which only made it worse for Gretchen Whitmer. And he did the same thing that Hillary and laughed about it and just didn't take it, just was very just rude about it. But then would it throw the shoes on the other foot? All of a sudden, Lauren Trump's, going on there, making him sound like some kind of helpless victim. And I'm like, well, no, it's kind of fucking funny. I mean, the stuff he said about Hillary alone, of course she's going to go on TV and laugh about it a little bit. I mean, I'm just surprised that Hillary hasn't gone on more and done a laughing tour about this.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't blame her. I wouldn't hold it against her at all if she did a series of talk shows where she basically started the interview by belly laughing about this. I mean, if anybody deserves to laugh about this, it should be Hillary Rodham Clinton. Of all people on this planet, that, number one, she deserved to be president. Mm-hmm. She won the popular vote. She would have been a night and day difference if we had had the late 20-teens and 2020 with her as president, with her intelligence and capabilities and all that. Can you imagine how different the pandemic would have been alone?
Would have been a different world.
Oh, she would have actually pulled out the Obama-Biden pandemic playbook that they'd written because of SARS and all that. And she actually would have used her brain, unlike Trump, which was telling people to shoot UV lasers down their throat and drink bleach and all the other crazy stuff that he said. We wouldn't have some goofy fuck up there with a bad spray tan and a horrific dead animal looking hairpiece giving us medical advice. We'd actually had somebody would have trotted out experts and handled it right and made the states do what they needed to do. And I can't imagine how many deaths we would have prevented since we led the world in deaths per capita. 10%, 15% of the deaths worldwide happen here. And we only represent 5% of the world's population. And a high wealth country like ours, what happened shouldn't have happened. And you have to point to the leader, Donald J. Trump. And it's one of the many reasons why he got fired in 2020. 8 million more Americans said, I think we'll pass. We'll give Biden a chance. He can't do worse. At the very least, hey, we remember him as vice president just a few years ago. He wasn't that bad. Let's give him a shot. You had your shot. You're dog shit. Let's move on. Let's just turn that page. You can go retire somewhere or one of your golf resorts. You spend as much time there as you do in the White House anyway, so we'll just give you full-time access to your golfing life and whatever. But I don't know how you feel about it. It's just, I love it for her. Oh, and that is our first break. And when we come back, I'm going to get Christian's thoughts on Hillary's laughing about Trump's indictments when we come back. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye, baby. Happy time. We are back. What was your take on it? I don't know if you. I know that you were pretty busy last few days.
Yeah. I didn't actually see it, but I read about it. I read that she had, there was some article about how she had done an interview, and the one thing that I will at least give, I'll give Hillary Clinton credit for, and I'll give her credit for the political professionalism that she has always displayed, because she's in a darned if you do, darned if you don't situation. If she talks about things, she becomes the topic. Because she knows this election is not about her, it's about Trump and Biden and some other things. She, like Obama, they don't put themselves into the news cycle purposely. So unlike someone like Trump, who can't stand not being the center of attention, I appreciate the fact that she doesn't go out there and do something like what Trump does, or what like MAGAs do, because then we would have a completely different Democratic Party. We would have MAGAs talking about, oh, Hillary, see, Hillary's not going away. We'd probably have progressives saying, I wish Hillary would go away. You know what I mean? It would become the issue. So I appreciate the fact that on the Democratic side right now, at least, and it's pretty much been that way on the Democratic side, the Democrats know how to slowly go away and not be the attention. Because in our world, because you and I are Democrats, in our world, it's embarrassing to get the attention if you're not the candidate. And so as a result of that, you don't want the attention. You want that attention to be on the candidate. So I appreciate the professionalism of her, because she can be a lightning rod. And because she only does these things, not all the time, I think it really speaks volumes. Because, like you said, she could be out there really rubbing it in, doing a lot of things that Trump would be doing, and I think so. What I hope is, to your point, people who see that. And I do hope these are talking points also for like talk shows and just us in general, to say, hey, listen, let's contrast the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Our past presidents don't try to suck up all the oxygen. They play their role. And that is really professionalism. That is exactly how you want things to be.
And the majority of former presidents always have, and
exactly.
Obviously Reagan was so far into Alzheimer's. He obviously, when he left office with not with a full deck, so he faded away because medically he wasn't. Elevator wasn't hitting the top floor. Just the truth, just medical reality. May he rest in peace. And and he's a horrible man. He's a bigot, homophobe, and all that. And I have zero sympathy for the end of his life. He got what he deserved. But you saw with Papa Bush and Baby Bush and Ford and Carter, they just pretty much went about their life once it was over. And Clinton,
exactly.
And Bill, you didn't hear Bill Clinton all during the early Bush years going, if I would have been president, I would have
exactly.
Like you never heard Clinton went, and did his Clinton Foundation and was working on world peace and women's rights and all this other stuff. And you saw a way different former president than current president, because he wasn't president anymore, and he knew that. And you didn't see Gore going on some kind of vicious, where they fucked me with those hanging chads, and I'm going to spend the next 4 years making George W. Bush's life miserable. No, he went into his climate change thing, and it became an elder statesman, and just really led the way to some very, meaningful movements that is leading to, helping our world adopt green technologies and making sure the funding's there. And, he never, and just like with Hillary, the 4 years Trump was president, I can't recall a moment where Hillary, once she conceded the race, she fucking, there was a big video of her going on vacation to this like cabin in the woods. She said, I went on, I'm done with this shit. Like, I shot my shot. I did the best I could. I didn't win. I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that. Life goes on, because she knows what the political life is like. She's lived it both as a spouse to a political figure and has also been in office. She was a senator. She was a cabinet member. She's lived a life. She's 50 years of public service in some way. She knows that that's your role. If you lose or you term out like her husband did, you move on. And Trump, on the other hand, that fucking asshole hasn't left the airwaves since he left office.
Yep.
And he left office kicking and screaming, trying to, do a coup and burn down the fucking Congress and hang his vice president. And he went out of office like a baby with a poopy diaper on an airplane ride. I mean, he had all the class of a raging bull through a china shop, and he went out of office the same classless way that he came into office. He's a fucking ass. He's a complete, total douchebag fucking asshole. I wanted to cover the third topic real quick, because it's not too far off this topic. Former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan of Georgia is one of the people that got interviewed by Fannie Wells, the prosecutor down in Georgia. Almost sounds like a country song. So we might write that about Trump's saga, in Georgia.
Yeah.
The prosecutor down in Georgia, so the devil down in Georgia. And he went off on the Republican Party. And this is a former lieutenant governor of Georgia, and was also, I guess, some way involved with the indictments. Not as a person of interest, but I guess he was a character witness or whatever. And so he testified in front of the grand jury. One of the reporters caught him coming out of the courthouse. I said, basically, what's your opinion of, Trump and things? And he said, the Republican Party is a mess. Mm-hmm. He went on to say that Trump was one of our worst political candidates ever for the Republican Party, other than Herschel Walker. He said they're destroying the Republican Party. He said this. He didn't say this, but they're a fucking clown show, and we got to quit stewing over the 2020 election and get over it, and we got to get back to basics, and we got to become the old school Republican Party again, and we got to stop all this craziness. And he says there's a lot of people that are running for office or in office in the Republican Party that essentially aren't fit. He's probably talking about MTG too, since he's a Georgian and all that. Yeah. But it's kind of this theme of this show today is how old white men are saying white lives matter, and how Laura Trump is going over there carrying water for her father-in-law, whining about, well, we need sympathy for this. I'm like, no, you put this in your situation, you fucked around, this is the find out phase.
Exactly.
4 years. Yeah. You tried to overthrow our government, overthrow our democracy, attempted to get your VP hung in effigy. You even set up a whole hanging deck. God knows what y'all would have done if you hadn't been stopped by the police. There wasn't any sympathy from y'all then. During the Trump years, it was always like, shut up, snowflake. If you don't like it, you can just move to a different country attitude. For 4 years, we put up with that. And Georgia, of all places, has had a lot of this kind of fuckery going around with MTG and all the craziness, including the fourth topic, which I'm going to blend into this third topic, because it also happened in Georgia. Cook County schools in Georgia, there's a middle school there where they have banned students from talking to each other.
What?
Even at lunchtime. No talking of any kind, just like in the prisons.
How crazy.
You can only socialize on Friday recess. So it's a middle school, so it's probably like 6th and 7th graders, maybe 8th graders. Parents weren't told about any of this new rule. The administration did it on their own, but they basically turned it into a school prison, kind of like Houston has turned one particular school. They've turned all their libraries into detention centers. They've cleared them out as libraries. Like, you don't use them as libraries anymore. They're now detention centers. These are all MAGA jackasses that are doing this. But what a bizarre, like, if I had kids in that school, I would go ballistic. First of all, that's a very social age. You're talking about 11, 12, maybe 13-year-old. I mean, they're like chatty Cathy dolls.
What's the why? Why are they doing it?
Well, that's the thing. So the school's not giving a lot of reasons why they did it. And because they didn't send an email or a memo out to any of the parents. They didn't notify anybody they were doing this. They just passed the rule. The cool kids came in, they sat them down and said, basically, for the rest of the school year, shut the fuck up. No talking of any kind. And just like a cone of silence, like they're all going to be Tibetan monks. And I guess they're just supposed to read, write, and just sit there like little robots. Which is kind of counter to class discussions and, like, it's one of the most dystopian things I've ever heard a school do. Is I can understand in the teachers talking or something like that. No talking and no fun of any kind. So no fun school. Very, very bizarre, very, very weird. And state of white conservatives right now is, fuck it, if we can't have fun and do all of our old school discriminations and hate, nobody else is going to have fun either. It's kind of where they just take their ball. I'm just taking my little ball and objects. I'm going to fuck home. And I don't want anybody else to have fun either. Fuck it. We are up against our second break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
But I
don't know how they can enforce that. I mean, obviously, it sounds like a really, really strict Catholic school.
No, it's a public. That's the crazy thing. It's a public school.
Wow.
This is a Cook County school. This is a public school. Let's make this clear. It is a public school. It is not a private school. Even if it's a private school, well, they wouldn't do that to wealthy people's kids. First of all, you'd have some CEO come down and go, "Well, I got more attorneys than you got fucking administration." They would sue the pants off the school. No private school would be that stupid. I don't even think a Catholic school would do something like that. Fearing that they would piss off a rich donor, because, Catholic Church is depending on them big greasy checks that they're, the fifth generation Catholic CEOs got, big old checks. But yeah, conservatives are getting weirder by the day. Now, this fifth story that we're going to talk about, It's even better. This one's even sweeter. This one made me giggle the moment I read this. And they described him in the article. He is a fourth generation restaurateur in Florida, or as I like to call Southern Georgia. And Richard Gunsmart, he's a Latino.
Okay.
They own, the family owns, and he owns. He's the CEO now of the Columbia Restaurant Entertainment Group. They have over 2,000 employees, and they have restaurants under different brand names all over Florida.
Mhm.
He's the fourth generation to run this company, so it was established by his great grandfather.
Okay.
And the original restaurant, the real famous one, is the Ybor City restaurant. I believe it's in the Miami area. If I'm not mistaken, and it's supposed to be world like presidents have visited there. He's super
Okay.
conservative. He's a MAGA. He was a big DeSantis supporter. Not so much now. So Dixakis couldn't just leave immigrants alone. He doubled down. They created a new state law with a new investigative branch
Yeah.
that more aggressively rates restaurants and places where typically undocumented workers work.
Mhm.
They also rated Mr. Gunsmart's restaurants, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they found 19 undocumented workers working there. Well. You know, the party of hating immigrants and anybody from a different part of the world trying to make their life better, coming to America, Neil Diamond, that sort of thing. We don't like immigrants anymore. So he got 19 undocumented workers. He had to let them go. He had to fire them. They came in and said, these people got to go. On top of that, they fined him $500,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now that's still a lot of money, even for a restaurant ain't that big. That's
sure.
It's over $20,000 per infraction.
Sure. Yeah.
And he's gobsmacked. He is so beside himself that his good buddy that he endorsed and publicly campaigned for just screwed him over. And I'm like, hey, y'all are the political party of leopards eating each other's faces off party. You fucked around, and you elected it, helped re-elect an idiot in 2022. What do you expect? I mean, if you run with Nazis, when they discover that you aren't really like them, it's going to bite you in the ass. And these conservative Latinos and Latinas that support these jackasses like Dixakis are going to find out sooner or later, just like Hitler's gay best friend, you're going to the camps too, bro. If you let this go too far and you let fascism take hold, just remember, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And he died by 500,000 swords.
Yeah.
In fact, seven of those employees, undocumented, had been working for this family for almost 2 decades.
Wow. Yep.
7 of the 19. And one, that tells you how fucked up our citizenship and residency system is.
Yeah.
That they've had a meaningful employment for 20 years and still aren't Americans is just stupid. Because they're literally Americans.
Yeah.
But also too, I love it. You talk about examples of karma. That's one of the biggest ones.
Well, no, but that's exactly true, Jenny. And I know that we have kind of suggested it for a while But I really do wish that Democrats or progressives or those who believe in undocumented Americans and things like that. I think there comes a point where we have to call their bluff and we have to say, okay, you want a closed border? You don't want anybody to come back in here? We're going to agree to legislation that says not only is no one allowed to work in the United States without documentation, but if the company that hires them, they have to be punished. And I assure you it will never pass because the majority of evangelical Latinx churches are all undocumented and they're all conservative. The majority, if you look at a lot of especially here in the Charlotte region, if you look at a lot of the bilingual people that employ Hispanic people, and they're all very conservative, they're all very MAGA people, they all employ undocumented people. If you look at a lot of these lawn services that do services for all these MAGA people, they're all, many of them are undocumented. So it actually does not, it won't stick it to us, so to speak, other than we're trying to protect them. It will stick it to the people who are doing the complaining. And the reason that they feel comfortable is because they know we will never call them out. Once we do call them out, they're like, oh, hey, hold on a second. And
or let them get away with this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
Florida has a supermajority in their Congress, and they have, a Republican governor, lieutenant governor. And so they have essentially carte blanche to pass whatever the fuck they want, and they have been doing
yes.
it. Mm-hmm. But when they go hard enough, they fuck themselves. Just like in Georgia, several terms ago, one of the Georgia's Republican governors passed that Georgia governors can't give clemency or pardons anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Can't help them. They tied their own hands. And when they do fuckery like this, when they think they're sticking it to the libs, getting those liberals, getting all those homosexuals and all the cabals and all that, they don't understand. They got to go by the same rules. Trump passed many things and signed executive orders, but now those executive orders and laws are the exact same ones he's getting prosecuted on.
Yes.
Including the documents rule. He passed more stringent rules while he was president. And because he's such a fuckdick, and because he's not competent enough, he doesn't realize he made it harder on himself. A lot of things he's getting prosecuted on documents case is stuff he passed when he was president.
Yeah.
Because he's a dumb son of a bitch. Just like most Republicans, they're just dumb. They're the party of dumb old white people that have just passed their prime and wanted to spend the rest of their lives making the rest of us decent human beings, the 80% of us that aren't in some kind of cult. They just want to make our lives fucking miserable.
Yeah.
What they don't understand, it's going to backfire even onto their base. And you're exactly right. All these support services all have undocumented workers in them. You can't go in a kitchen and not find undocumented workers. I know that for a fact. That is one of the industries that's always going to employ people that maybe don't have all their ducks in a row, because we have an archaic, expensive system that punishes poor people that are just trying to help us out by cooking our greasy cheeseburgers and fries and do the jobs that lazy white people don't want to do. That's true.
The state of Texas, for an example, Jenny, the state of Texas doesn't want immigration reform. They don't want immigration reform because they need all the undocumented people to work in that state.
Always have.
Yes, always have.
They've crisscrossed across that border for centuries.
Yeah.
including white people that do the same thing, like the Mennonites of West Texas.
Yeah.
Live in both countries, have done trade and agricultural business across the border for centuries, for like 150 years. This stupid shut down. What Biden should do is shut down every fucking ship that comes from Mexico and Latin America. He should ban every flight to Latin America for like a year to say, okay, you want me to completely close the borders? You got it. You do a full Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth. You need me on that wall type speech. Go full dark Brandon and say, we are not going to do a drop of business, trade, or tourism with Mexico or any Latin American country for a year. We're going to do a total moratorium. I'm going to close that border so tight, you wouldn't be able to get a needle through it.
Yeah.
And you literally, go full on scorched earth. Just do it for a year. So I'm going to do it for a year. It's an emergency. You guys are right. Because God forbid, we don't make drugs here in the United States.
Yeah.
According to Senator Daines from Montana. Because we got to bring in the Mexican meth.
Yeah.
Like Missouri just got it right. I'm like, I think there's another state that starts with an M that produces plenty more meth than Mexico ever even dreamed of. You can't say Missouri without saying meth. But just say every country in the Americas south of the United States doesn't exist for a whole year. No Brazilian steel, no fucking coffee from Colombia, no fun of any kind. Pull a full-on Republican move and just say we're going to ban, like, cruise ships can't dock there. They can't. We don't want any illegal sneaking on that boat. A full-on travel, tourism, trade. Nothing comes from those protocols. Nothing. Can't fly to Cancun, go to any resorts. We'll act like all that south of the border is Cuba, and Fidel Castro controls all of it. We'll do it for a whole year and see how you like it. Is that what you want? Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
And we tell you, they would lose. Like Ted Cruz alone. There's a reason why he's called Cancun Cruz.
Yeah.
Where would he vacation?
Exactly.
He didn't want to go back to Canada. Nobody vacation. Why would you vacation? What, to eat poutine and chase around moose? There's no reason to, maybe Vancouver. Vancouver is kind of cool. Other than that, there's no reason. Canadians go south to vacation. People south don't go north. We go Cancun, we go to the Caribbean, we go nice places in January, not frozen tundras. But anyway, that is the end of the show. We've run a little bit over, and we will dance out with our two crews in the truck. Never even got to the 6 topics, but that's okay. See you, Boo.
Bye, y'all. Bye, Boo.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Two Crews in the Truck. Be safe out there. It is hot in some of the states that y'all watch from. I know there's some high heat alerts in different places in Texas and the Southwest. Y'all have a great week. Drink lots of water to stay.
Bye, Boo.
Bye, Boo.